Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Natural Born Hunter podcast. And tonight, we're going to start out with this. Phil, what is better than getting 10% off on your Mountain Ops purchase?
Getting 11% off your Mountain Ops purchase?
That's true. And what's better than that?
Well, we can walk this all the way up, but let's just go ahead and jump right up to 20% off, Will.
Yes, let's not annoy our listeners by going increment by increment till he gets 20%. If you want 20% off your next purchase from Mountain Ops, go to getmountainops.com, enter the coupon code NBH20 at checkout, and boom, you get 20% off.
I encourage you to do so. I love my Mountain Ops.
Hell yeah, they've got great proteins, pre-workouts, they got little BCA pills that I love, multivitamins. I mean, if you want to get jacked, just take a little Yeti and you will be well on your way.
That's it, man. And you can't beat the new flavor of the Yeti. So check it out, everybody. Once again, NBH20 at checkout.
Also, we are able to provide to you a pretty sweet gift code from Maven Optics, which is NBH Gift. If you enter that at your checkout, they will send you some free Maven swag with your purchase. I mean, these are probably one of the hottest binoculars out there today. They're fully customizable, when it comes to camo patterns, colors, and not only that, they're great glass. I'm going to have Phil tell you a little bit more about that because he had a really nice, expensive pair of binoculars, and he sold them and got himself some Mavens.
Absolutely, man. I mean, when you look at us as hunters, we want the best bang for our buck, right? And not everybody has $1,500 or $2,000 or $2,500 to spend on a pair of optics. So why not get as close to the quality of what those $2,000 pair of binoculars are for half the price? I mean, Maven's put a excellent product together. They've eliminated the middleman and brought you, the hunter, the best product they can put together and kept it in a reasonable price. So, if you don't believe us, they're out here, they're finishing first or second in all kinds of awards when they're putting their binoculars out there for an independent review. They just took second in a recent review on their spotting scope. And there was over 30 entries into that review. All the big boys were in there too, ladies and gentlemen. And Maven, yes, on their new spotting scope, took second place in there. I mean, if that doesn't tell you, that they're putting out top-notch quality products, I don't know what is. Listen to me, it's money. Listen to Will, they're giving us and our listeners the opportunity to, look, if you're watching, check out this sweet hat I got on. I mean, that's a sweet hat right there I got with my binos, right? So check it out, man. They're going to kick you a free gift. I encourage you to support the companies that are really keeping the hunter in mind.
That's right. So it's for Mountain Ops, NBH20 for 20% off your purchase at checkout. And for Maven, it's NBH Gift at checkout. Try them out.
At Mavenbuilt.com.
That's right. That's right. So get on over there and try them out. And now go on and enjoy the show. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Natural Born Hunter podcast. I'm your host, Will Bradley. And today we have a very special guest, Kenny Hollingsworth. He's a good old North Carolina boy, and not only that, but he also won the Train to Hunt PA Masters Men's this year. He then carried that over into a very successful elk hunt out west, and he is a Bowtech pro staffer and an all-around great dude. So do me a favor and welcome him to the show. Kenny, how you doing today?
Hey, great, Will. Good to be on here, buddy. How you been lately?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Now that hunting season's over and that didn't go so well for me, I'm readjusting my schedule and my priorities, making shooting this winter a little more structured than last winter. I got my eye on some goals this year, and we'll see how it works out. How about you, man? You coming back to play the Train to Hunt game this year?
Absolutely, buddy. I got the new bows in from Bowtech for 2017. I found out when I entered the Train to Hunt in PA last year that I needed to do a lot more 3D shooting. I kind of I was hoping to rely on my fitness to get through it and my past experience shooting 3D, but you find out if you're not judging yardage on a regular basis that you lose that ability. So it was more of a having to come from behind, and so I've got it in my mind to practice a whole lot more on judging yardage and 3D events before that comes up this year, in addition to the fitness side of it.
And what are you doing for to improve your 3D skills?
Well, right now in the wintertime, I haven't shot anything outdoor yet. Hunting season is still kind of going, so I just come downstairs. I've got a 10-yard range set up in the basement, and I just shoot, concentrate on getting a good release and, good form and getting used to the new bow. Shooting one of the new Fanatic 3.0s this year, I think, for competition. So it's a true target bow, and that'll be something new as well. I was just using the hunting setup in the past, so I'll try a target setup this year and see how that works out for me.
Now, are you going to hunt with that bow too, or you're just going to use it for the train to hunt style competitions?
I'm going to use it for the train to hunt style competition, but I've actually got it set up to where, if I wanted to hunt with it, I could, but I don't have plans to do that. It's got a blue riser on it and everything, so it's going to be a competition bow that I can dedicate just to that. So whenever the 3D season kicks off here in North and South Carolina next month, then I plan on shooting a couple of the competitions, like probably at least 2 a month anyway, in addition to just practicing at home.
So that riser's what, 5 inches longer than the new Rain 6?
It is.
It's
Right? The axle on that bow is 37.75 inches. On the I've got the 3.0, the standard, and so it goes to 24 to 29 inch draw, which I have a 28.5 inch draw, so that works out good for me. And but the weight's the same on it and the XL as well as the axle length. The only difference really between the two is the brace height is a little bit shorter on the 29 on the standard, and so you get a little bit more speed out. But the weight's about 4.7 pounds, so it's not a real heavy bow. And I've got it set up lighter than I would if I was going to have it as a true target bow. I've got my hunting stabilizers on there and that type of thing.
Right. Now, what were you shooting last year for competition?
I shot a Bowtech BTX 31. That was my hunting bow, and so I just went a straight up hunting setup on that one, and took it straight to the elk woods come September when we went out to New Mexico. All I did was change out the arrows and re-sight it in.
So you're thinking maybe you're going to join the best of both worlds using that Fanatic this year? Get a little bit of that longer height on it, a little more stable bow, and then keep that low weight and speed of a hunting bow with the accessories?
I think that's the road I'm trying to take with it. I think it'll work out pretty well, especially with the format and the way it is on Train to Hunt coming up this year. I don't think it's going to be too big of a deal with the extra pound of weight that this bow is going to have over the Rain or the BTX, either one. And it may not even be quite a pound. It may be more like 3/4 of a pound even.
And even so, if you can make up with better shooting, it's worth that. It might be worth that extra pound with that trade-off.
I think so. I mean, my come from behind win in PA was a slim margin. So I was behind after the shooting by close to 10 points. So if I can make up, even 5 of those points, then it'll be worth it, in my opinion. Because it's a really tight game. I mean, there's a lot of competition in that, and if you shoot bad, it's really hard to outwork a bad score.
It is. You can put yourself in a big hurt coming off that 3D course, if you're not shooting well. Do you notice a difference already going from a hunting bow to a target bow?
I think so. I haven't gotten out to where I can shoot any long distance with it yet. Just the weather hasn't been that great, and I really hadn't taken the time to do it. I hadn't had the bow but only a couple of weeks now. So from shooting close range, 20 yards and in, the bow seems to really hold solid and just seems to sit on point after you shoot. So that's real important, I think, as far as follow through. You can be more precise. I dropped a few points last year in different 3D events and also during Train to Hunt just from millimeters, line cutters normally. So right. Just that little bit could come down to your release in a lot of situations.
What are you going to run for an arrow setup? You going to go target arrow?
I am. I'm running the Gold Tip Pro 22s again.
All right.
what I used last year. I like to hunt with a heavier arrow with a smaller diameter typically, but that's a great target arrow, I think, and it's really consistent and seems to do well. Plus, a little bit fatter arrow, so it helps you cut that line a little bit better if it comes down to it.
Sometimes that's all it takes.
Absolutely. This does hold well, though, on those, 30-second shoots that we've got on the Train to Hunt and holding a long period of time. And having referenced that really paid off for me practicing this summer of holding my draw for a long time. I was trying to hold it for at least a minute before I took the shot, and that really came into play, as we'll talk about later on my elk hunt. I had to hold my draw for a long time on that one.
Let's talk about Train to Hunt a little bit. This was your first year. They're expanding. They're coming to your home state. What would you recommend for people who are thinking of going out and doing this for the first time?
Well, that's a good question. It has came up to me quite a bit by some of my friends that are wanting to do competitions this year. They asked me what they should work on the most. Well, I really think that you can't ignore the shooting aspect of it from what we just talked about. You really need to set targets up at unknown distances and get good at judging yardage. Get that score at least average. You don't need to be any more than 5 or 6 points behind the leader if you're trying to win. If you're going for just a good time, then still the same thing. Everybody wants to do as good as they possibly can. But on the fitness side of it, I think you should really get a good pack or a good ruck. Put 35 or 40 pounds in it and really spend some time under that ruck. I mean, that's where you need to be doing step-ups, lunges, any type of training program that involves some hills and a little bit of running, or basically just a ruck run, a shuffle, that type of thing, to get used to that pack being on your back. Even though the meat pack's been changed this year, it's still important to be under that ruck and to do those workouts that really build your calf muscles and your thighs.
What do you think of those changes? They shortened the meat pack, dropped the weight, made it all one day, shortened all the courses really, made it kind of a what would you call the challenge course now? It's more of a interval run, if you will.
Right.
How do you think that's going to play to you?
Honestly, I think and I haven't done one yet, nobody has to really know, but it really seems to me like they've made the competition easier this year. That doesn't mean that I think I've got a better chance of winning again. That means I think everyone has a better chance of winning again. Just because when you take out an 80 to 100 pound meat pack out of an event, that was a major killer right there. I mean, that was an equalizer. If you didn't train, there's no getting around moving an 80 to 100 pound pack for a mile or mile and a half. There's just no way around that. I think back in PA, had we not had that event, it would have been a different outcome overall, I think. Having two separate events and one that hard really gave me a chance to make up ground during that event, and other people too. I saw it on the team events, and I saw it on the even in the open division. That meat pack really made a difference on people changing positions. So, I'm glad it's a one-day event now. That's a big deal. But I'm really looking forward to giving it a try to see how it turns out.
How does your training play? Like, what's your day-to-day training look like?
Well, I've joined a program through Train Heroic called Soft Fleet. And Soft Fleet's comprised of a group of special operations, active duty and former military soldiers that incorporated some of their training aspects into a program that anyone can join month to month with no contract, that type of thing. They have a strength program and a stamina program. And I'm a member of the stamina program, and it's a 6-day-a-week program with really 5-day-a-week, 2 recovery days, one on Wednesday, one on Sunday. But that particular program involves a lot of cardio, but it also works on building up your leg muscles and your anaerobic abilities. And I think that really plays into the Train to Hunt competition, especially now coming up this year with the extra running that you're going to have to do. If I read the rules right, you've got probably 12 to 1,600 meters on the interval runs in between, by the time you do your 4 shots, and then you've got a 2-mile challenge course with 2 extra shots with the 50-pound pack on your back. So you're going to have to be able to run maybe more so than you had to last year. You've got to be able to get that cardio and that anaerobic ability built up. And that stamina program is a 12-week cycle that builds towards that objective. It starts off 1 week with squats and pull-ups and different things along those lines, and your step-ups and your lunges, and then each week it adds a different stamina workout, whether it's a sled push or a sled pull or a 1 mile run or 800 meter runs, things like that, to really get you used to that cardio. And I think if I really stick to that program, which sometimes it's tough to really stick to it to the letter, I think it'll really pay off. I know you train a lot, I believe, at the CrossFit and different things. You have to really stick to the program and for it to work. If you kind of halfway do it, then you don't really get the full result out of it.
No, that's for sure. I think even doing a program, like you say, halfway, not doing it 100% or not, and say 90% or better, right? Because everybody has a sick day now and then.
Right.
You'll get less than half the results.
Right. Really only have time to train 4 days a week. I really don't have the time to train 5 days a week, and especially not 6 days a week. So I really got to make those 4 days that I'm out there training, really try to stick to the program as close as I possibly can. So I try to train on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday and Friday. Wednesday, if I do anything on Wednesday, it's a light day that's made for swimming or rowing or something along those lines. And some days I do those and some days I don't. But the other 4 days, when it comes to the running part of it, especially now with it being wintertime, you really have to dig deep and go out there in the dark and the cold and do that running, and it's tough to do sometimes.
It is tough, and it takes a lot of mental strength, not unlike hunting, where even if you're in a stand, it may require more mental strength to sit in a stand all day on a dark, dreary, cold-ass day, and when, you could be somewhere warm with your family or doing something else, you really got to have that mental fortitude to sit out the hunt. And I think that gets overlooked a lot, and people think hunting's easy, because maybe you're sitting there all day, but guess what? That takes a lot more determination than a lot of other things I've ever done in my life.
That's for sure. All they got to do is look at the weather forecast in the Midwest right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Bad news out there right now.
Exactly. There's no, I would say, quote unquote, easy hunt. Or I've never had an easy hunt.
Right.
I don't know if you had, but I haven't.
I actually thought I was going on an easy hunt in Texas last year between Christmas and New Year's, and so we arrived in the Dallas airport, and it was 85 degrees on Saturday, and then overnight the temperature dropped down below 30, 7 to 8 inches of snow, ice, power was out. And this is the panhandle of Texas. That's not supposed to happen, I didn't think. So
I didn't know that could happen anywhere in Texas.
We were 3 hours west of Dallas and stuck in an ice and snowstorm with no power. I never would have guessed it.
How'd it end?
Could have shot a couple of bucks. Just didn't see quite the one we were looking for. But there was 3 of us, 2 of us, killed bucks and a couple of pigs. So it really turned out to be a great overall hunt. The only reason I didn't shoot one on that particular hunt was my own choice. I was trying to bow hunt and trying to find one, a little bigger than I should have been.
I understand. We've all made that mistake, right?
Right, absolutely.
What's the saying? Don't pass up a deer on the first day you shoot on the last day.
That's 100% correct. 100% correct. But honestly, I'm glad not to have to be sitting out in that -10, -14 degree weather that some of the people are doing right now to bow hunt this weekend.
Ooh, you got that right.
Yes.
What to you is the most important aspect of hunting?
Well, you mentioned the mental side of it, and that really hits home there. My Kentucky hunt this year, I do a lot of hunting on public land, and Kentucky whitetail hunt, I try to spend a week every year hunting on public land, and sometimes it's a challenge. Last year, I shot a nice deer on the 3rd day, saw lots of deer. This year, when I got to the place I was hunting at, it seemed like the hunting pressure was a lot higher this year. There weren't many deer around, didn't hardly see anything, and ended up filling my tag on the last hour of the last day of day 7. So it's just sitting from daylight to dark during the rut. The mental aspect is really important. But even besides that, if you've got the mental aspect down, you really have to do your homework to find a good place to hunt. I mean, you can't kill a big deer or even just a deer if you're talking archery hunting just anywhere. You really have to put your time in and your homework in to really try to find an area that has what you're looking for. You know, hunting pressure being the biggest thing. If you can find a way to get away from the hunting pressure, that takes a lot of homework, or if you're lucky enough to know someone that lives in the area that you hunt that'll help you out, that's great, but a lot of times that doesn't happen. I know up your way in PA, lots of public land, lots of hunters, so you
Yeah, New York State, we're like one of the top 3 worst states to hunt, I think they say.
Is that where you're in New York?
Yeah, upstate New York, and it's tough. It can be tough.
Yeah, that's a lot of big woods and cold weather up that way, seems like.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
But that in my mind, I think is part of it. I mean, besides being in good shape and being able to go out and cover the miles to hunt and get your deer out of the woods and get away from people, you really have to have the right mindset to be able to stick with it. It would have been easy to come home after day 3 or day 4 and decide, hey, it's too hot and the deer aren't moving. But I knew a cold front was coming in toward the end of the week, so I just had to stick with it and hope it paid off.
Had to stay strong.
Right. When you get away from your family and work and things like that, it's always in the back of your mind every day. I could be home making some money. I could be seeing my kids, that type of thing. And so it really get to thinking about all that because you have plenty of time in the tree to let it all settle in anyway. What else you could be doing.
There's plenty of time to second guess yourself.
Absolutely. That's for sure. Absolutely.
So you went out west this year?
Yes, I drew a tag in New Mexico, which was really amazing because I drew a tag in southern New Mexico in the Gila in 2015, and I tried for several years. There's not a preference point system out there, so it's just luck of the draw every year. Very low odds, probably under 2% to draw a tag. So I drew a tag there, and I didn't get an elk there in an area that I thought was going to be a given. I knew I was going to have to work hard, but I didn't get one. I missed a couple of times, both times just doing kind of dumb things lessons you should learn years ago in your hunting career and have to learn them over again sometimes, unfortunately. But this year I applied for that same area and didn't draw, but I had a backup area in northern New Mexico and drew the tag as a third choice. It's a non-trophy area. I'd never been there before. And so, but I figured anywhere in New Mexico is going to be a great opportunity. So turns out that my friend Jeff from Northern California, he drew the same tag. So there was a friend of his that he'd kind of met on Bowsite, on one of the hunting forums, and that lived in New Mexico, but neither one of us had no idea where the guy lived at. And so it turns out he lived close to the unit that we drew, and he had been there before. So he kind of gave us an idea of where to start at. So we started looking at Google Earth and trying to find water tanks, and it was second season in September, so we knew that the rut should be going pretty well, but we also knew it's still going to be warm, so the water tanks would probably pay off. It was a kind of a dry year this year. So we started doing our homework on finding an area, and it really paid off. We drove out this year to New Mexico and found an area to camp, and we were into bulls right away.
So then what happened when you get out there?
Well, Jeff got out there a day before I did. His drive from Northern California, I think he said it's 14 or 15 hours. Mine was about a 25-hour drive, so he got there before me, and he was able to hunt it the first day of the season in the afternoon. And so when I got into camp, probably right at 2 hours after dark, he came wandering in. He was all excited, told me that he'd been in bulls all evening but just couldn't close the deal. And so I was really ecstatic then. I already had my tent set up and all my gear laid out and checked to make sure that my bow was ready. I didn't get a chance to shoot at any, but I checked everything. I had all my marks on my sights and rest and everything, nothing moved. I felt like I was really good to go. So early the next morning, we got up and were able to take the truck to drive to a top of another mountain that we'd found on the topo map, and just found a little access road that we could barely get on. We had to drive over quite a few rocks and potholes and go around some logs and things like that, but we managed to get in a position where Jeff had heard a few bugles that night, and then So we waited till it got first light and started walking in. And we didn't hear any bugles, so we just kind of headed off in a general direction that thought looked good on the map and went down a big canyon. And so we probably got about 2 miles from the truck maybe and heard a bugle way, way off in the distance. So there wasn't anything else going on, so we both decided just to head towards the bugle. And so the more ground we covered, the more bugles we started hearing, realized that there was probably 3 bulls on the same ridge. And so we started practically sprinting our way over there. I don't even know how many miles at the time that we were covering. It was quite a distance, though. We finally made it over there, and we were able to get on the same ridge as the 3 bulls were. And we spotted a cow just basically ghosting through some openings and heard the bugles right behind it. And so we rushed up, and I told Jeff, I said, hey, go ahead and get up there and get in position and, get it. He was like, no, buddy, you go right ahead. He said, I want to see you get one, And so he let me go first, amazingly. And we had no idea how big any of the bulls were that were up there. We just knew that they were coming, and it really didn't matter to us. Any decent bull we were going to shoot. So I didn't even have a chance to call. As soon as I got in position, I could see antlers coming through the trees, and the cow walked right in front of me. And she stopped at about what I'd ranged as an opening about 39 yards, and she stopped and stood broadside in that opening looking right at me. And Jeff was just behind me about 15 yards, and all 3 bulls are coming up the ridge screaming at the same time. And so the bull I saw, when I saw it, I couldn't believe how big it was, but I tried not to look at the antlers after that. I was like, well, let's just hope he comes on in this opening right here and see what happens, and follows this cow. So eventually the cow decided that I probably wasn't a threat. She walks off and stops, but she's still within sight of me. But the bull, he's just eventually in the wide open at like 25 yards, but I didn't have a shot. There was a scrub oak beside me that I couldn't shoot through. I was on one side and he was on the other side, just screaming away. And so I was starting to, kind of get really, really nervous, as you can imagine. You mentioned the buck fever earlier when we talked, but it was definitely setting in. Well, eventually the bull started to walk toward my opening at 39 yards. Well, he was about 3 steps away, and I came to full draw, and he stopped and decided to scream a couple more times at the other bulls that were moving in. And so I was at full draw, it seemed like forever. I was as long as I've ever held at full draw before. But I was on my knees, so I was able to drop the bow down on my thigh and hold the cam pressure against it to keep it from, so I could stay at full draw. Well, he finally took the last 2 steps that I needed and got into the opening, and I lifted the bow up and made the shot, and Jeff estimated I was at full draw for close to 2 minutes.
Holy cow.
Never held at full draw that long, but I did make a good shot, got it right in behind the shoulder, and he didn't go far, maybe 35 or 40 yards, and piled up, and I was just stoked. I couldn't believe it. Ended up being my biggest bull ever. Only my 3rd bull, period, but he ended up gross scoring just over 350 and 2 eighths.
Woo!
Nothing official on that. That was just our measurements, but it was a monster.
He looked like a huge boy.
Yeah. Man, we couldn't believe it. He just got bigger as we walked up to him. But to top it all off, we were in bulls every single day, and Jeff on day 6 ended up, I called in a nice 6x6 for him, and biggest bull he had ever taken. So it ended up we both got great bulls, and hunted 6.5 days, and then we're on our way back. So you couldn't ask for it to win any better than that. It really turned out great.
No, you really can't. Would you say your train to hunt training paid off?
Yeah, I would say so, because on the pack out on my bull, by GPS, from the time we left the truck till we brought our last load of over 100 pounds on our back, we went 16.61 miles. And yeah, we were hurting. And part of that was our own fault, because we tried to take a shortcut, which you should never do that. If you know the way back, you need to go the way back. So luckily the shortcut was without weight on our back, just getting back to where our bull was, where the bull was at. But we had four loads, anywhere from 100 to 125 pounds, I would say. And those loads, we were going probably 3 to 3.5 miles each way with it. So total almost 17 miles. And mental toughness really played a big part on that, as well as, our legs were killing us. It wasn't for that training all summer long, with that heavy weight and stuff, that meat pack we were talking about earlier on the Train to Hunt. I mean, that it really come into play right there. When you add mountains and elevation, and on top of that, 9,000 feet and stuff. I couldn't have done that 10 years ago, even though I was younger.
And holding your bow back for 2 minutes, oof.
Oh man, yeah.
Oof. And still making the shot. That's what counts.
Yeah.
It's not how long you hold it back, it's finishing it.
I don't know if I read it in a hunting magazine or saw it on TV, or somebody gave the tip one time to press that cam down against your thigh. So I've done that a couple of times in the past, but nowhere near for that kind of time frame. But I don't remember who said that first or who I got the tip from, but that really made the difference on that. But normally, your average bow shot you do in under 30 seconds, and probably under 15 seconds. I mean, most of the time you draw and shoot if it's whitetail hunting or something, and that holding it full draw for a long period of time just hardly comes into play. Elk hunting, it seems like it always comes into play, though. Or if you're stalking a mule deer or something like that, it seems like you end up in the western hunts in more of a long draw situation. And a longer shot, too.
And it only takes that, one, whether it's a doe or a cow, whatever you're hunting, to just spot you for 1 second when you're at that full draw. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to be there for a while.
Right. Yeah, even if you only need to move, a few inches to get that shot of the animal moving, if there's something got you pegged, a doe or a cow, either one, they can blow the whole gig for you, no doubt about it.
Oh yeah. Now, we've all been there. We've all been in that one situation where I think we even let weakness maybe get the better of us, where we flinched or we moved or we drew down, and then all of a sudden, boom, they're gone, taken off, and you learn real quick, don't do that again.
Yep. Now, with my 2015 hunt, that I mentioned some of the lessons that I'd learned, that revolved around not drawing my bow soon enough. I don't know if I could or couldn't have held it full draw for that period of time, not 2 minutes certainly, but probably could have held 30 or 40 seconds, a year ago. But there was two situations early in the hunt in 2015 that I had bulls in range but just didn't quite have a shot yet, and I waited till they were in my shooting lane and then drew my bow. But a bull, you just can't seem to. Some people might be able to, but I haven't been successful in being able to stop a bull like you can a whitetail or something like that. Any kind of noise you make, they just want to keep on walking, seems like. And if I'd been at full draw earlier and waited on those bulls to come in this position, I might could have killed one in 2015. But instead, I ended up missing two and not even getting a shot at two others. It all came down to, one in particular. There was a friend of ours was calling for me in 2015. He called a bull in. I was behind a cedar tree, and I was expecting it to come out at about 30 yards on the left side of the cedar tree, and next thing you know, it walks out on my right about 12 yards away, and nothing I can do whatsoever. Wasn't in full draw, so I decided, well, I'm just going to try to turn and draw my bow and hope he don't run off. Well, he ended up running off about 60 or 65 yards and stopped, and I shot underneath it. But had I been at full draw to begin with, then maybe, I don't know, maybe I could have had time to get an arrow off, on a quick shot. But blew it.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So now I decide, I'm going to be at full draw. If I have to let down, I have to let down, but I'm going to be at full draw now. Next.
Better to be prepared.
Absolutely. Yeah.
1 second. I'm just going to pause this, take a quick pee, and I'll be right back.
All right, sounds good.
All right. Trying to stay
So,
hydrated.
I hear you, brother. So, yeah, obviously this is the first one of these that I've done, so I don't know if there's something you want me to address specifically, or
No, you're doing great, man. We're hitting everything. Good.
okay. I
Yeah.
don't know where you want to move to next, but just get me on a subject, and I'm sure I can find something to talk about.
Oh, exactly. I'm not worried. All right, so switching gears here a little bit. You are a Bowtech pro staffer, and I happen to know that is one of the harder pro staffs to get on. How'd you go about doing that, and why Bowtech?
Okay, well, there was another bow company that I was a member of several years back. It was a new startup company, and I met some of the people that actually worked at the factory and stuff out of Michigan, and kind of really got into the promoting a certain brand of bow. And that particular bow company sold, the name changed, the staff went away. And at that point, which was 2 years ago, I decided, okay, what do I want to do? Do I want to keep trying to be on a promotional staff for a company? First of all, what bow do I even want to shoot? So I really liked the concepts that Bowtech's had with their overdrive binary cams and just the look of their bows and word of mouth. So I started shooting a few bows around different brands and decided I really liked the Bowtech bows. So I've been a member of Mossy Oak's regional whitetail hunting staff for the last 6 years, and we had a program partnership with Bowtech at the time. So it gave me the opportunity to shoot one or two of their bows and get an idea and kind of work from the Mossy Oak side of it because they're a Mossy Oak partner. So I was able to buy a RPM 360 and shoot that bow and hunt with it for a season. And then that first year was kind of a trial thing. They took applications in October that following year for their new pro staff members, just like they always do. But they haven't had anybody new really, in the last year, but they had the opportunity going in for a few new positions. So I sent a resume in and put everything that I possibly could on there about the type of hunting that I'd done and the year that I'd spent using their bows and trying to get the feel of their technology and everything. And fortunately, I was one of the few that was selected that particular year. And that was last year, going into 2016, just in time for the BTX to be released. And so it was good timing. It was, a great bow, and it was easy to shoot, the RPM, I mean, and it was just good timing. They were looking to add a few staff members, and I was lucky enough to be selected for their hunting staff. I mean, they've got a great target staff that I know I could never compete on that side of it. I mean, there's professional archers, top notch, but they started the hunting promotional staff from their factory, and I was fortunate enough to be selected on. I felt like I was qualified enough from some of the hunts that I'd done and places that I go to really spread the word across the whole United States, not just the Southeast, because of the traveling that I'd done, Canada and the Western states, even in the Southeast too. So great timing more than anything. I don't think it was a situation where they thought I was some great hunter or anything like that. I think it's just a matter of being able to get the word out on their bows in different areas, and just worked out great for both of us. And so fortunately this year they gave me an opportunity to sign a 3-year contract with them. So it's locked in for the next 3 years now.
Oh, that's nice.
And so really excited about that. It gives me a chance to, try all the new bows each time and really be able to spread the word about them. And more importantly, I like shooting the bows. I wouldn't feel confident promoting something that I didn't believe in myself. So they've been really great for me, and I'll stick with them as long as they are,
Now, I've seen them share some of your content from the Train to Hunt competitions. Have they mentioned at all building up some kind of contingency program if you were to continue winning them, anything like that?
Well, for Train to Hunt, they haven't mentioned that yet. They do have a contingency program for, for 3D competition. But honestly, that's the first I've heard anybody mention something like that, and that's a great idea. I mean, I don't even know if that's been brought up yet. Um, you know, maybe that's something that Kenton's brought up in the past, or maybe not. But I know there was another bow company that were with Train to Hunt, so maybe the opportunity wasn't there. But that's something worth bringing up for sure. You're a smart guy. I never thought of that.
I try. 1 second. So, do you see these hunter athlete type competitions growing, or your interest in them growing?
I think so. I mean, from my point of view, I love them. I think they're awesome. I mean, I've done a few endurance events in the past. The Battle Frog OCR races, Green Beret Challenge, the Go Ruck challenges, which I guess that's probably how I got started in all this endurance stuff was through Go Ruck anyway. Go Ruck's gotten larger, but still there's something missing. And then when I saw the advertisement for Train to Hunt to begin with out on the western states, probably saw it on Rockslide Forum, I guess it was the first time, and read about it. And I thought, that's right up my alley right there. I could get motivated for something like that. And so I asked a few of my friends and all, and they all seemed to be really excited about the idea, but they just didn't want to travel. And, it was a 8.5 hour drive to PA last year, but it was worth it. It wasn't even a bad drive. It was worth it to go up there too. And it's a great looking area up through there that you get to drive to get to. But this year, with having a North Carolina event, archery in the southeast, as far as 3D competition things, is huge. And OCR racing is huge. Endurance events are huge. I just can't see how it won't be a great fit for the southeast. This North Carolina event, I mean, I think it's going to be big. PA was big too, but I think North Carolina event will be really big.
How big do you think it'll be?
Well, I mean, I personally know 8 or 10 of my friends in this area that are going to enter, and just that never done Train to Hunt before, and so 8 or 10 new faces, and of those 8 or 10, I'm sure they all know a few people that might jump on the bandwagon when the time comes. But they all have bows. They've all shot 3D things, 3D competitions. But the biggest thing is they're already athletes. They already train, and they already do CrossFit or soft lead or both, or they're ultra marathon runners, that type thing. Ruckers, they do Go Ruck events. They're already doing that type of stuff, and they're looking at it the same as I am. That hey, this is a great idea. Wish it would have came around sooner. So I'm really hoping it'll be good. We've really tried to promote it in this area, and I know there's several people signed up already. But then I think you have your standard core of competitors that are going to do it anyway, wherever it's at.
Oh yeah,
the repeat guys and stuff.
Yeah, people who aren't afraid to travel a little bit to get to the event.
Yeah, myself, I think I'm definitely doing North Carolina May 13th, but I'm almost positive I'm going to do April 22nd in Texas, one of the kickoff events.
Nice.
And of course, I'll definitely be back in PA for sure. I mean, those guys up there at Ambridge, Bill and all of them. I mean, that was a fun time up there. Great area.
So you're gonna make it. You're gonna make it back to PA this year?
I am. Yeah, definitely.
Nice, very nice. So you're gonna try to hit 3 of them.
I am. Yeah. I don't know if I'll get to do the nationals or not. I'd like to, but I just don't know. I mean, that's getting kind of closer to hunting season, and some of my days off I might need to reserve for that.
Now, if say they had nationals on the East Coast, would that change things up for you?
Absolutely, I'd be there on that one. Absolutely. If I could drive less than 8 or 9 hours, I'd be there. But if I have to fly and miss a day of work and things like that, and just the extra expense, I don't know. I don't know if I would or not, But April, turkey season's going on here in South Carolina and North Carolina both in April, but still kind of cool here. It'll be a lot nicer weather out in April in Texas. I think that'll be a good place to kick off things at, for me. I actually have a plane ticket credit that I need to use, and I need to use it before the 1st of May, so that'll be right on time,
Perfect.
Right on time. Which ones are you planning on doing this year?
I think for sure try to hit Pennsylvania, and I don't know if I'll do more than that. I'd really like to make a trip out to do the Alpha bow hunting competition. So if I can make the two, I'd be pretty happy with that. I don't know if I qualify for nationals, if I'd go out or not. Just trip wise, I think I'd rather save it for a hunting trip.
Yeah, that's kind of avenue I'm on. Definitely, that was the case this year. I've got an antelope hunt planned in Wyoming, August the 19th coming up. So I know I'm planning on going out there. That's after the nationals, I know, but still got to reserve that time away to go something around. But tell me about the Alpha Bow Hunter. I know we talked about that a little bit, but how does that work exactly?
So it's from what I understand, talking to Phil, is you have a 3D course you shoot, and I'm not 100% sure, but you might have to carry weight during that, and you shoot that, and based on how you do, the top 20% of the male get put in what's called the Alpha division. And I think even if you don't make the Alpha division, you still get put in another consolation division, and
Right.
you then go and you shoot head to head with another person. I think it's 5 or 6 targets, and you have to do some smaller physical challenges during that. And I think it takes around 3 minutes or so to do. So it's pretty interesting, a little more like 3-gun there, fast-paced kind of sprint event. And I know he's got some big prizes planned. He told me up to maybe $1,000 at least for the person who finishes first, giving away like 10,000 or something like that total in money to the top finishers, throughout. So he's really working at it, trying to make it a big event. So I think it could be, if I can go out and win that, it'd be worth buying the plane ticket.
Absolutely, man. That sounds fun. Anyway, especially everything's in Colorado, right?
Man, Colorado's hot. It's hot in the bow hunting world right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful state, too, so it's a great place to go, scenery-wise and everything. But that 3-gun competition style for archery, kind of surprised that nobody's thought of that before,
I am a little bit, too, but, Phil's a bright guy, and I'm not surprised he's the one who came up with it as far as having it, head-to-head, faster, the way, 3-gun is. And, I like that. I like shooting under pressure. I like having somebody else to go against, so I think it'll do well. I think the format will do really well. I think he's got 4 events and then a championship round, which you can even qualify for on that fourth event the same day as the championship. So I think that might be the time I try to go, is that last one. Just try to make it, throw my hat in the ring.
Right. Yeah, that head-to-head archery definitely is a new concept. At the start of the Train to Hunt challenge course last year, after we did the tire drag and ran over to the first target, I knocked an arrow, put my release on, and knocked my arrow off of my string, and it fell off my wrist and bounced off my next competitor's tennis shoe beside me. So, so I got off to a rocky start right there. So, you could try to be in a real hurry, but they always say that slow is smooth and smooth is fast. I tried to get in too big a hurry and
exactly
losing time.
But I've been there. I think that's one thing you're going to see with the new Train to Hunt format, where guys have to come back. I think it's to the same area to shoot every time on that challenge course. It'll be a little more exciting, definitely more exciting for spectators.
Yeah, that sounds good. That'll be spectator friendly for sure. I mean, that's a big deal there. That'll really help Train to Hunt and get promoted if you have a spectator friendly event.
Oh, definitely.
I know there was a shoot up in PA last year that I went to in May that one of the professional shooters put on, the organization of professional archery, and I got invited to shoot on a team with Mossy Oak up there, and just for the not as a competitor, but we competed against the other national sponsors of the event, the other companies.
Oh,
so
nice.
We had a 5-person company team between each one, and so the biggest thing at that event was the fact that the pro shooters on day 2 had the shoot down, and they had the stands and bleachers set up, and a big crowd came in to watch the shoot down. Now there were different targets along the way that they had, spectators could sit and watch some of the pro shooters come through, but the big thing was the shoot down at the end. That drew a huge crowd.
Mm-hmm.
And to have the professional shooters up there where you could watch, and something like the Train to Hunt, most of the spectators from what I've seen are family members and friends, and that's probably still going to be the case. But if you have an event where anyone can see what's going on, if everybody shoots from the same spot for those first 4 arrows, then that might draw a crowd and maybe get a few more competitors at the next event, possibly.
Exactly. Build that interest up just a little bit more.
And it sounds like that's the case with the Alpha Bow Hunter also. If it's a 3-gun style head-to-head competition, then should be spectator-friendly for sure, I would think.
Oh, yeah, and he's going to have DJ there, so the music will be pumping, kind of like a...
Great.
If you ever did a CrossFit workout, it should be a pretty high-energy party atmosphere as far as that goes.
Yeah, it sounds fun. And so that area, I guess, in Colorado, I mean, there should be plenty of participants, I would think. I mean, they don't have to worry about, like we talked about earlier, of a 100-pound meat pack to have to deal with, so they can't let that fake them out. If they hadn't trained maybe as hard as they should have, they could still do an event like that.
Oh, yeah, I would think so. That's the thing, a little less training, maybe a little more inclusive. It's not necessarily as big of a time commitment, so, it definitely has some attraction to it that way.
I think there's no doubt that Train to Hunt is going to attract a few more competitors this year, too, with the new format.
I think so.
Because one-day events versus 2-day events.
Yeah, that's big, because it's tough getting back, on a Sunday.
I mean, you'd have to be a really tough guy to do a Train to Hunt event that we did last year all in one day.
Oof, yeah, you would.
After that meat pack, I was glad to be able to go back to the motel room and regroup,
Oh, man, your legs could certainly be hurting for that second day, too.
Yeah, no doubt. I really wouldn't have looked forward to have to go back out and do the challenge course after the meat pack last year. So that'll help, no doubt.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, Kenny, it has been a pleasure having you on the show tonight. Before we get going, is there anything you want people to check out or they should know about?
Well, I don't know, not really. I mean, if you're looking for a new bow, obviously give the Bowtech a try. But I'd say probably if people listen to this, they want to get into the hunter-athlete style of that. And I would say just find a training program, whether it's Trainer Roic or Soft Lead or even Train to Hunt's program. Get into that. It'll really help you in the long run.
There you go. And don't forget, check out our fine sponsors, Mountain Ops. You can head on over to mountainops.com, enter the coupon code NBH20 at checkout, and get yourself 20% off supplements. And you can go to mavenbuilt.com with your order, enter the coupon code NBHGIFT at checkout, and get yourself some free Maven swag. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Natural Born Hunter Podcast. Wake up, chase your dreams, repeat.